And I do believe we're live. Hello everyone. I'm so used to saying good morning or good evening, and what is it? It's afternoon, isn't it? It's 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 5 o'clock in Florida, where it's such a beautiful day here. I have to tell you that the breeze is coming in. I've actually got the windows open. So often in Florida you can't have the windows open because it's too hot and all the heat comes in. But there's cool breezes and it's just a beautiful, beautiful day today. And so welcome to our bottom brick. Before we go any further, first of all, I'd like to say hello to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who is, as always, standing to my right side. I'd like to say hello to Chris. Are you there, Chris? No, you can't hear Chris because she can't talk. But Chris is in the background, as usual, doing a fantastic job. And as you all can see, we have a guest. We have Cheryl. Say hello, Cheryl.
Hello, everybody.
So, Cheryl, I know there's no point in me asking you if you're nervous because I know that you are, because we just spoke for a couple of minutes just before we went on air. Are you a little nervous still, or are you feeling a little bit better about things?
I'm still nervous.
Are you? Are you
Yeah.
terrified?
Not quite, but I'm getting there.
I don't know what it is about me, but people do get very, very nervous when they talk to me. I think it's because so many people think, what can she see about me? What can she see around me? Will she know how awful I really am? Can she tell? Can she tell? What can she tell about me? But actually, from what I can see, Cheryl, with you is, I see, first of all, I think you're so brave to come on our show today and to do this exercise. And so I want to commend you for that. Good for you. And I also want to reassure you, I promise I can only see, so far anyway, I can only see nice things. If I see things that are not so nice, I promise I won't call you out. I won't let anybody know how awful you are. I don't think you're awful at all, really, are you? I think
I
you
hope
just
not.
I don't think so. I don't think you'd be on this show if we thought that you would be an awful person. So for everybody out there listening, the bottom brick exercise. What is it? What do we do? And it's so funny because we are collecting what we're now learning to call our bottom brickers. It's a little club, it's a little thing all on its own. All of you bottom brickers out there who have done this exercise, who have been as brave as Cheryl is today, it's it's about really about trying to understand as we grow up, very often in our lives, very often in our childhood, very often in our lives as we're growing up, things happen to us. We have an experience of one kind or another, and the things that happen to us, especially when we're young, can really create in us a pattern of behavior, um, a feeling of perhaps being uncertain or insecure for whatever reason that might be. What we do with our bottom brick exercise is we try to discover the reasons why somebody has started to build a wall, hence the bottom brick. We build the brick, we build the wall, we try to protect ourselves, we try to hide behind it. And as we get older and we have more experiences and more instances of trying to hide from people or feeling insecure about ourselves, that wall, on goes another brick and then another brick. And before we know it, we get into adulthood, and before we know it, we have built this incredible wall that we feel in some ways protects us. We hide behind it. But what it also does is it isolates us, because we don't want to show anybody who we really are. We're nervous about letting people see us, and we're nervous about showing ourselves to the world. So let's hide behind the wall. Let's hide behind that wall and let's protect ourselves. But at the same time as we're trying to protect ourselves, we're damaging ourselves because we're hiding from life as well. So the bottom brick, I feel, and I've done this with my students for years and years and years and years, I feel that if we can find what started off the bottom brick, what it was that began, that created that bottom brick. You know what happens with a wall? If we pull out the bottom brick of a wall, what happens is, as we pull it out, and we wriggle it and we wriggle it, the wall starts to get weaker and weaker, and eventually we can get it coming crashing down. And then we can see the person who we really are, and we can become the person and dare to become the person who we want to become. So, Cheryl, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay,
I
all
think.
right. I'm hoping that prior to you coming on the show, you sort of had a little think about things.
Yes.
And, you've seen other bottom brickers, you've seen me doing this exercise with other people. So, what I would like to ask you first is, and sometimes, I have a very, very good, very close friend of mine who he did have a bottom brick. He did have a wall that he hid behind, but he was 7 or 8, and that bottom brick didn't come from his family. In fact, it came from a whole different place. So we have to be careful not to say, this is something that happens when you're very small, or this is something that happens with your family. It could come from anywhere. That bottom brick, that first moment, that first feeling of feeling less than, of becoming less, of feeling intimidated, of feeling, oh, wow, shy or hurt, or whatever it is that you have experienced feeling. This is an exercise that is not about blaming other people. We're not pointing the finger at your parents. We're not pointing the finger at siblings. We're just trying to understand what happened without pointing or blaming. So, I know that you've thought about this, and I know you've watched other people. So, my first question is going to be, have you actually any idea or any thoughts on when that first feeling of being less or feeling less uh, came from? Have you any idea?
I have always been very shy, even as a small child, but I don't remember specifically until I think my mother had 4 other kids before us with another marriage. I have a sister, and it's just the 2 of us, and she had the 4 other kids. I remember as a small kid asking my grandmother why my mother loved her other kids more than my sister and I. And
So you already felt that.
I did, because she had them adopted out before she married my father. And she was allowed to see them for a little while and would go and visit them. And then she'd come back and start crying. And I always felt like there wasn't anything I could do to help her.
So can I ask you what happened? Do you know, in fact, what happened to her first husband? Why did she have to
I
let
believe
go?
he was alcoholic and abused her. And I think something happened to her last child because of that. I think I don't know for sure, but I think it died.
Okay. So she came into this second marriage with your father. She came into this second marriage then, um, very damaged, obviously,
Yes,
and having 4 children who had, whether they'd been taken away from her, whether she gave them up, it's the same sort of thing. But obviously, in some way, on an emotional level, she was not able to care for those children.
right.
Can I just ask one more thing about this? Was this because your father did not want them that she had to give them up, or had she given them up prior to meeting your father? Do you know?
I think she gave them up um, on the advice of her parents.
Okay.
I think that
Before,
she was told that no man would want her because she had all these kids.
okay. All right. So she was obviously in a bad marriage. She was obviously emotionally damaged. She obviously had low self-esteem. You can imagine what was going on with her.
Yeah,
And then having to give up her children. Now she meets your daddy, right?
right.
What was he like? Was he a nice guy?
He was very laid back, very nice, very simple. Not a
Easy
very
going?
complicated person, just very easygoing.
Right. Okay. So here she now is coming into this new marriage and dealing with the husband who is completely opposite to anything she's experienced before. And then along come these two beautiful girls. Okay. So is there any moment that you can pinpoint? I know that you say you asked your grandmother, why does my mother love her other children more than she loves us? Is there any moment that you can pinpoint, or any series of experiences that you can pinpoint which would lead you to ask your grandmother? Can you remember how old you were when you asked your grandmother this question,
I
roughly?
may have been about 4 or 5.
Okay,
And I
so
don't remember. I don't remember very much before age 6, really. Just
right,
bits and pieces of
yeah,
scenes in my head, but not anything
right.
specific.
But do you have any memory or feeling or sense of why you would feel that? Because you must have been feeling that she loved your siblings.
I know
They,
for
they,
a little while she took us to visit
oh,
with her, with her
okay,
other kids, with her adopted families. Eventually, they were not allowed. She was not allowed to do that anymore because the family said it created too much heartache for the kids.
okay. Do you know where the other children were? Were they with foster parents or?
They were with most of them. I think 2 of them were together in an adopted family, and the other child was adopted elsewhere.
Okay. So wow, what a tough situation, right?
And she had been married at age 15, her first
Oh,
marriage.
okay. So, all right. So we know that you were born into a, a, a situation that was extremely complex as far as your mother was concerned. Um, I want to ask you one more thing. Uh, and then well, I'm going to ask you a lot of things actually, but I want
Okay.
let me ask you this one thing. So your mother obviously was a very complicated, emotional. You said that she would cry a lot. You saw her crying a lot. You obviously
Distant,
witnessed her.
distant. She was kind of distant emotionally.
Yes. So, so you saw her, sort of withdrawn. Obviously, sort of having a very difficult time leaving her other children behind that somebody else had taken. And those children were giving their parents, I suppose, the love and affection that would normally have gone to her. So you can see that she's a woman who is in really, sort of a very complex and very difficult situation. Was your father? How was he with that? Was he sympathetic, or did he support her, or or you said he was very laid back? Did he bring you together as a family and say, but we've got each other and it's okay? Or did he just let things flow the way they were?
I don't remember him doing much of anything, really.
Okay.
I don't, if there were any arguments, it was usually my mother, and he would just kind of retreat if there was an argument.
Right. So yeah. Oh, say okay. So I now have this real picture here. So let's look at you as a child and also your sister. How did your sister respond or react to this?
She was similar to my father. She just kind of retreated into books. Um, I kind of became a clown in the family because I was trying to make everybody happy and come on, everybody smile, especially trying to get my mother to smile. Um,
So you took on the burden and the responsibility of uh, of trying to make your mother smile,
yes,
and that for a young child it's a very difficult thing to do, because I'm sure it didn't work most of the time.
sometimes it did.
It would work briefly and then it
Yes,
would explode again. So you were born into, already into this very emotional and explosive situation. Um, Very hard for you to understand. But obviously, I mean, when you ask your grandmother, why does mum love them more than us? Do you think you were asking why does she love them more than us, or do you think you were asking, you know, why doesn't she see me?
yeah, that was what I was feeling at the time. Like
Okay,
she wasn't paying attention to me.
yes. And I think that's the crux of it. And I think that's the crux of your situation. Can you help us to understand? We're going to come back to it, I promise. But can you help us to understand some of the things in your life that happened to you that you might want to share with us? You know, how is your, you know, as growing up in school, becoming an adult, your relationships, how have they been?
Um, in school, I
I
was
could tell everybody, and I could actually tell you too, but I'm not going to do that. I want, this is me trying to help you to bring this out in you, so that you we get an understanding of what's going on.
um, I was always very quiet in school. Just starting from like first grade, they asked my mother if I could talk because I just never did. That continued on. I didn't make too many friends because we moved around a lot too, so I just didn't feel like I could have a connection and then leave it, make another connection, leave it, and keep doing that. But that
Okay.
was a pattern over the years, even up through high school. Even today, I don't really have friends. I have acquaintances, people on Facebook that maybe I knew years ago
But
I've
you
looked up, but I don't have somebody right here I can call and say, hi, come over and visit.
are you saying are you saying that you find it hard to build connections with people or to have relationships with people?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
I don't want to put words into your mouth, so I'm sort of helping this along. But if you disagree with what I'm saying, you must tell me. You must say, no, that's not it. Okay, you know to do
yeah,
that, don't you? No.
yes.
Okay, all right. So so okay, and so the more important relationships. Can you tell us a little bit about your life? Can you tell us a little bit about, you know, sort of, because here you are, you're a child, and you are definitely from a very, very young age emotionally, um, well, you have nothing, do you? There's nothing going on there. Your mother is not capable of giving anything to you because of her own pain and her own hurts and what happened to her. She is probably terrified of loving you girls, right? Because what happens if you get taken away? It's hard enough for her to have dealt with having four of her children taken away, and then uh, now she has two more girls. But you can understand why she would be very reserved emotionally and also very afraid to
Yes,
become too close to you, because what if then somebody said, you're not capable of looking after these girls either?
yes. Well,
So
she could be very nurturing when she needed to be if we were sick or something, but other times her mind was 1,000 miles away, and I knew it was because she was still thinking about those girls, even later on in life.
yes, well, I mean, she must have been emotionally very, very scarred. And
Yes.
again, I think we have to understand that, I can quite see why she would be, well, very loving and nurturing when she needed to be, as you said, when it's in her face that you need something, you need her. But I do understand also that she might well have been very afraid to take it further, or to, because she must have so often in her own mind been drawn back to these others, these other babies of hers, who
I
she
was
probably
also
gave.
told I was also told that I was an oops baby, and because my sister was a girl, I was supposed to have been a boy, and I wasn't a planned pregnancy, so I just came along.
You were a what baby? Oh, an oops baby.
An oops baby, yes.
I love that. Oops, yes. So okay, so again, let's come back to you and how this affected you in school. You were very quiet, you didn't talk very much, you
Mhm.
found it very hard over the years to connect with people. Do you think that you found it hard to connect with people? I'm going to give you some options and choose what. I mean, you might say all of the above, but do you think you find it hard to make connections, Cheryl, because you're afraid of being rejected? Or do you think you find it hard to make connections because you simply do not have the skill to converse, or to, to have that ability to sort of be a friend to someone because maybe you don't know how? Or do you think that you find it hard to make connections with people because you're afraid that they may disappear, or that you'll get close to somebody like your mother, you'll get close to somebody and then they'll move, or they'll go their own way? Why do you think, is it all of the above? It's one or two of those things? What is it, do you think?
I think, I feel like my friendship, like, my friendship with somebody, I would do anything for that person if they wanted me to. If they called, I would run to see what they needed. I have never gotten that reciprocated, and so I kind of stay away from people because I don't feel like they're going to to be my friend the way I would be a friend, let's say.
Okay.
And also because of the moving, because people have moved away.
Well, that's very telling. We'll come back to that in a minute. And and what about relationships, personal relationships?
Um, the first I never got married, I never had kids, but the first man I stayed with for 20 years, I was about 28, and he was in the arts and crafts business, so we did a lot of craft shows together, and I felt like good that I could create things. And but at the same time, he was emotionally abusive. Like he would just suddenly start telling me, you know, he just couldn't stand the sight of me or hated my guts, just things like that. And then it was like he never said it. Um, but I finally did leave him, and after about 20 years, and I came down to be with another man who is much nicer, but occasionally he also has the emotional, abusive tone of voice. Um, and I'm with him right now.
Okay. So the first, you were 20 years with this person. So the first husband
Yes.
uh, was definitely a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, right?
Yes.
Uh, and to stay with someone for 20 years, it's a long time to stay with someone in an abusive relationship. Um, do you think you stayed with him because you were so insecure and so uncertain of your own self? Did you have a lack of self-worth, which is why you felt that you should stay with him?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Uh, we're going to come and talk about the man you're with in a minute. Are you ready for this, Cheryl?
Okay, yes.
You're not so nervous anymore, are you?
Not as much, no.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let's go back to obviously, this is uh, so many people build walls. So many people have, this feeling of lack of self-worth. So many of us have experienced something that gave us the incentive to build a wall. We get that first little drop of poison that makes us feel so much less than we should. It makes us feel as if we are lacking in something, that we are not good enough. And not it's not always as easy for us to see where that came from. In your case, it's very easy to see why this was. It's very, very easy to see that your mother had enormous emotional trauma and enormous issues that she would place onto both you and your sister. And people deal with things in different ways. So your sister dealt with it in one way. I think in with your way, you've already said that you became the clown. You tried to make things better, which tells me that you are a Miss Fix-It. You like to, do things that make people feel better. You like to
Yes.
heal people. You like to try to fix things. And then of course, there's another wall goes up, because then you realize you're failing miserably. Let's put up another wall. And then, then you realize I can't fix everybody, and not everybody wants me to fix them anyway. Then goes another wall, and your wall builds and builds. Would you say that's pretty accurate there?
I would, yes.
Okay. But I'd like to talk about your daddy as well, because I feel that we could sort of say this happened because of your mother. And in part, yes, I think it did. Quite a big part of what went on in your childhood stems from your mother's attitude. But I feel that your father has some responsibility in this as well. Because as a father, well, we should all do things, shouldn't we, that we don't do. So let's say that he should have or could have. Perhaps he didn't know how either. Remember, we're not pointing fingers, we're not blaming anybody. But had he been that person who gathered you and said, don't worry, it isn't about you, it's your mom is having difficulties in this way and that way, and explained it to you, or had he gathered all of you together, your mother included, and say, okay, we can't do anything about what happened here, but what we can do is make sure that our lives are happy and good. But in fact, what he did was he just was like the ostrich burying his head in the sand. If I
Yes.
don't, if I turn away and I don't see it, I don't have to do anything.
He never had too much to say. Um, like, for instance, if I was in elementary school, I was in choir, and we had like a performance, and the parents would come and sit in the audience. I mean, it was like second grade. Um, After the performance, my mother said, um, "You embarrassed me so much." And I said, "Well, what did I do?" She said, "You were making a fool of yourself up there by rolling your eyes and jumping up and down." I said, "Well, I was nervous." And she just wouldn't talk to me anymore. She said, "I embarrassed her." And my father didn't say anything. He just drove us home. So
So he didn't defend
he
you.
didn't say anything. No. And that was his way.
Right. All right. So growing up and as a child, you not only had no emotional support, you were criticized, you were put down by your mother and completely ignored by your father. Okay. So, would you think that it was fair to say that for most of your life, and especially in your personal relationships, you've tried to please,
Yes.
despite being somebody that you're actually not necessarily? Trying to be somebody that you think somebody else likes or wants or loves.
Yes.
Would you
Yes.
think that's fair?
I would. Yes.
So how's it working out then? Or is it working
It
out?
it has not, over the years, it has not worked at all.
No.
Um, Alcohol came into the picture, and I thought that would make me more social, but it didn't. I retreated even more.
Even more so, yeah.
I did, yes. And eating
So I think
disorder, that also did the same thing.
so, but you're not too concerned about the alcohol or the eating disorder right now, right?
No,
No.
no.
So you were really simply then trying these things or trying to hide, building the wall higher and higher, thicker and thicker. Okay.
Yeah.
So you understand now where it comes from, this need to please, this need to always try to do the right thing for somebody else.
Yes.
How many times with the man that you're with now, the boyfriend that you have now, how many times do you give in to him, or don't you?
Most times I do. Um, Occasionally I'll just talk back to him, which I never used to do to anybody. But most times I'll let him have his way, whatever he wants to do, however he wants to do something.
Because you think that that's pleasing him.
Yeah.
And when you actually stand up and say no, I'm not going to do that, or when you say, when you know you get a little brave and
Yes.
you say no, whatever, for whatever reason, how does that work out?
Um, it works fine. I
See, here's what
usually
I think.
he retreats.
He backs off,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So does it make you feel better when you say
For
no?
for a moment, yes. It
And then
does.
what happens?
And then I go back to trying to do something to please him.
Do you feel guilty then when you stood up and you said no? Is there a lot of guilt behind it, or do you
No.
just not care? You pleased?
It comes out because I get angry enough to let it come out.
Good. That's good. Did you know that? That's good.
Uh,
All right. So, all right. So, as we're talking about this, how are you feeling? Do you feel that the walls are a bit shaky? Are they coming down a bit? Do you feel that you're finally able to maybe step out from the wall a little bit? How are you feeling as we're going through this?
yeah, I feel like that wall is capable of crumbling.
Does that
Um,
make you feel more brave or less brave?
a little of both.
Okay. All right. I'm going to talk about the relationship that you're in at the moment. If you think that I have it wrong, please tell me.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Because I'm not going to be able to help you, and you're certainly not going to be able to help yourself if we can't just be very open about this.
Okay.
But I'm suspecting, of course, I do have Grey Eagle here with me, which is very helpful. But I am suspecting that the man that you're with now, he's actually a really nice person.
Yes.
Would you agree?
I would, yes.
I think he's also a very nurturing person. Would you agree?
To some extent, yes.
When you allow him to be.
Yes.
Yeah, because you remove yourself, don't you?
Yes.
Emotionally.
Oh, yes.
And so the poor man might want to put his arm around you and tell you it's okay, but you're afraid of emotions, aren't you?
Yes.
So when he tries to support you emotionally, when he tries to tell you or show you that he loves you in his way, what do, young lady?
I usually get very uncomfortable and
Leave me
retreat.
alone.
Yes.
Leave me alone. No, leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
But then what happens? Then, you see, I know things. It's not fair of me to know these things, is it? But then I also feel there's an enormous part of you which just wishes somebody could love you. Right?
Yes.
And he does love you, but you just won't let him show it, will you?
And I have a hard time showing him.
Well, we know that.
Yeah.
That goes without saying. We know that.
Yeah.
We know that because we've listened, all of us. I think everybody listening, everybody paying attention here knows how extraordinarily difficult growing up in this environment, growing up with someone who's not loving and not caring, and having all of these other emotional issues as a burden on her, places the burden on you and looks to blame you in a way, or looks to not blame you necessarily, but looks to almost to make you pay for her suffering. Would it surprise you to know, I know that it won't surprise you to know, that I had a mother who was just like this.
I know. Yeah.
So, all right, but now you you retreated emotionally. You built the wall emotionally. I know all about that wall because I had my own.
Yeah.
But I've been so fortunate in having Grey Eagle, having those in the spirit world who, I mean, my wall didn't stand a chance. My wall came crumbling down because there's so much about me and so much about me emotionally that if I want to give, I've just got to do it. Now, you can do it, and that's how you feel, because I do feel that you are, in a way, you're a healer. You want to be, you'd love to be, and you can do it with strangers.
Yeah.
You can give anything you like to strangers, can't you?
Yes.
But when it's somebody you know, you're terrified. What do you think is the thing that you're terrified of most?
I'm not sure. Letting somebody in.
Of letting somebody in? Why? My
Um,
students hate me when I say why. I ask them a question, they answer, and I say why. So come on.
oh, they might
Why?
leave. They might leave
Why? Why?
because I'm not a good person.
There you go. Because you're not good enough, right?
Right.
But darling,
Is something wrong with me.
yeah. Well, there's I'm amazed that you've come through not exactly unscathed, but having a mother like that, and speaking from my own experiences, I have to tell you, it's amazing to me how we do survive these things. We have our scars, of course, and you have definitely got these emotional, awful emotional scars, and this awful feeling of being less or feeling less. And the more you've hidden behind the wall, the more you felt less, and then less, and then less. And then the more you have been unable to open your heart, to open your arms, and to let somebody in, that one somebody who desperately would like to come in.
Yes.
But you also, do you realize that what you're doing by closing yourself off, by hiding yourself behind this wall, what you're doing is you're pushing them away.
Yes.
So if he left emotionally, you can turn around and say, well, there you are then. That's good reason why I did what I did. I wouldn't let him in, and now you can see why.
Yes. Right.
So you can prove yourself right then, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to ask you to be brave.
Okay.
Do you think you can be brave?
I can try.
Okay. Because you've got two ways you can take this in your life, you know? You can be brave and be happy. Or you can be a coward and continue to hide behind the wall, because we now know why the wall's there. And it's only there because you're putting it there. There's no real wall. It's only you that is holding that wall in place. You do understand that, right?
Yes.
So you can be brave and knock that damn wall down, or come out from behind it. You're halfway there today. Or you can scurry back once this conversation is over. You can scurry back behind the wall and close yourself off and be miserable, be unhappy. And at the end of your life, you can say, oh, well, you know, I guess I was not meant to be happy, which is a nonsense. So I'm going to ask you to be brave. I want you to come from behind the wall. I want you to understand that the man you are with, he is lovely. He's a very nice person. You might want to let him watch this. You might want to let him understand why it is you push him away. You don't push him away because you don't love him. You push him away because you're terrified that once he sees who you are, he won't like you anymore. He won't want to be with you anymore. So I want you to be really brave, and I want you to put your arms around him, and I want you to tell him that you love him, because you do, don't you?
Yes.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
what?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, thank you. Come on.
I do love him.
Yeah. When was the last time you told him that?
Oh, it's been a while.
Yeah, you betcha. Okay, so my darling, can you be brave? Can you share with him what you're sharing with us? Because he needs to know. He is the person who will hold you. He is the person who will care for you. He is the person who will nurture you. If you stop being so much of a coward. Oh, don't you hate that?
I do.
I just called you a coward. But you are being a coward if you don't share. And you are missing out on what could really be a really amazing and a wonderful relationship and a wonderful life if you just were to share with him. So you might want to let him watch this. Sit
Okay.
down. I've got something I want you to listen to. If
Okay.
you were to let him watch this, if you were to be brave, what would you say to him?
I don't know. I don't know.
You do know, don't you? Wouldn't you want to say, I think you're a special and a wonderful person? Wouldn't you want to say that?
I would. Yes.
Excuse me?
Yes, I would.
Yeah, can you say that?
It would be hard. It would be
I'm
very
asking
hard.
you, who cares if it's
Yeah.
hard? Get on with it.
Yes, I'd
Listen,
like to tell him he's a special person
and a wonderful person.
and a wonderful person.
And would you also like to say what?
I love him.
Oh, there you go. That you, because you do, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And would you also like to say how sorry you are for pushing him away all these years, but it's because you've been so afraid to let him in? Wouldn't you want to say that?
Yes, yep.
Okay, go on then.
I'm
Come
sorry.
on.
I'd say I'm sorry for not letting him in all these years because I've been afraid.
Do you mean it? Even though I'm forcing you to say these things,
Yeah.
so do you actually mean it?
Yes, yes, I
I
do.
think you do, don't you? Because you're heartbroken, really, that you don't have this wonderful relationship that you know is at your fingertips, but you don't know how to get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I would like you to, every day, in every way, for the rest of your life, tell him how much you love him. Even if you're mad with him. And stop trying to please him and start trying to please both of you. All right, you're a partnership. So
True.
be a partner.
Okay.
Wasn't that hard, was it?
No.
Let's just go to Chris and see if we have any comments or if anybody has anything to say to you to help you or to encourage you to be who you can be, who I know you can be.
Are you ready?
Go for it.
All right. Judith is saying, Cheryl, thank you. You are being so strong now. You are being brave today to do this. Anita says, you need to start loving yourself.
Absolutely.
I am says, this is wonderful.
So we're getting some very good comments, right, Chris?
Yes, everyone has been very supportive.
And I think, you know, Cheryl, it might help you. We can share these comments with you afterwards. If we don't have time to share them all with you now, we can definitely share these comments with you afterwards because obviously, Chris, she's getting an awful lot of support here, right?
Every single person who's in the chat room is saying similar things.
So now I'm going to say something to you, young lady.
Uh-oh.
And then, you see, everybody's terrified of me. I don't know why. I'm a nice person. All right. I'm going to say something to you. You know, you had a mother who couldn't, for a variety of reasons, show you the love and affection, the admiration that you deserved. And it's so easy to hold on to those hurts, which you have done, hence the wall, right? And
Yes.
even though you don't realize that you're holding on to them, it's so easy for us to hold on to them because, well, it's easy for us to hold on to those hurts than to let them go and be the person who we want to be. It's much easier to hide behind the wall. So aside from the fact that you've been a bit of a coward, you won't dare be a coward anymore, will you? Because you
No.
know that we're all watching you.
That's right.
Uh, I feel that you have so much to give. You're expecting, you know, don't let forming friendships, don't let the fact that, you know, you give more to the friendship than they do, don't let that stop you. That's how it is. You know, people take, and that's okay. Isn't that okay? People take from me all the time. That's okay. That's what we do because we are the givers. We're the people who like to give. And then we get a bit resentful sometimes that, you know, well, I did this for her, but she didn't do that for me. But don't go through life that way. Form those friendships. Don't expect other people to be you. Don't expect other people to treat you as you would treat them, because it doesn't always happen. It's about the giving, it's not the receiving. It's about the giving. And you have so much inside of you to give. And obviously, this man that you're with, he sees that about you. He does see it about you. If he didn't see it about you, he wouldn't be with you. And he obviously sees that you're that loving and kind and special person. And if you came out from behind the wall and stop hiding and start to give him what he deserves, don't be your mother. Don't treat him the way your mother treated you, because that's what you're doing. I know you don't mean to. I know you don't want to. But stop perpetuating this awful, reserve and holding back of emotions. Because our emotions and our love is it's the most important thing we can give. Your mother didn't know how. Too bad for her. She missed out on you.
Yes.
I look at my mother. I know my mother missed out on me. Boy, did she ever miss out on one of the greatest experiences she could have had, having a loving and a nurturing daughter. Your mother missed out on you having a wonderful and a loving and a nurturing daughter. Don't you miss out on being a loving and a nurturing partner. Just stop it, because you're missing out. Your fear and you're hiding behind the wall, and your fear of rejection is just making your life so less bright than it could be. I know that if you dare to be brave and to share with your boyfriend and to tell him every day, I'm such a fool, I should have told you I loved you every day. Just share with him. Your life will become so much brighter, so much clearer. And you know that elusive little word, joy, that you've been lacking and wondering how other people can get it. How do people find joy? You've got it right under your nose. You just need to embrace it. You need to be brave, and you need to embrace it. And I promise you, if you are brave and if you embrace it, absolute joy will really, truly be yours. But you've got to reach for it. You've got to come from behind the wall. I can see that wall crumbling even as I'm speaking to you. You just needed someone to tell you you can do it. And I'm telling you, Cheryl, I'm telling you absolutely, without a doubt, I trust that you can do it. If I didn't think you could, I wouldn't be encouraging you. I would say there's no hope for you. That's it. Too bad. But I see you with joy at your fingertips. Are you going to open the door and reach for it and let the light in? Or are you going to be that scaredy cat and treating other people the way that your mother treated you? And you know how awful that was, don't you?
Well, she ended up with cancer and died from that, age 45.
Well, we're not going to talk about her anymore. We're talking about you. You are a wonderful and a loving person. Could you please start to show it? I tell my students, if you don't show it, they don't know it. I tell them about their family, about their children. If you don't show it, your children won't know it. If you don't show it, your boyfriend, husband, whoever, they won't know it. If you don't show your love to people, they don't know. And how often do you think he has felt rejected by you? And you know what that feeling is like.
Yes.
I always believe, when people talk about if you're an abused child, then you abuse others. I don't agree. Because if you've been abused, you know how much it hurts, you know how much it pains, and you would do anything not to hurt somebody else. Could you please take that on board, because you need to apply that to your partner in life. Stop making him suffer because you're suffering. Let go and find joy. Have you got that?
I do. Thank you.
Now, is there anything you would like to say? Because I know we're almost up for time. Is there anything you'd like to say to everybody out there listening, or is there anything you would like to say at all?
I would recommend anybody do this. It's so helpful in a lot of ways, just because to get Rosemary's perspective. And thank you for the opportunity.
We see you, you know. You know that, right?
I do.
That's why people are so scared to do this, because we see you.
Yes, I know.
But what we see is lovely. What we see is such potential. You know, I don't know why people are so afraid to talk to me, because we're only ever looking for the positives in life, for the good in life. And as I've said, if you were not a good person, if you were not a nice person, we wouldn't be doing this anyway, Cheryl, because they know they wouldn't have allowed you to come on. That would be sure for sure. So the fact that you're here, the fact that we're doing this, tells you that, you know, Grey Eagle wants to help you. We want to help you. We want you to find joy in life, as we do with everybody who's listening here, because, you know, people listen to you and they hear your story and they relate.
Yes.
People relate to you. And when I say to you, get out from behind that wall and stop hiding, how many people do you think are thinking, oh, I better do what she tells me, otherwise I'm going to be in big trouble?
That's right.
And you better do what I'm telling you, otherwise you're going to be in big trouble.
I know.
So be yourself. Stop trying to please others all the time. Please you, please your partner. Get to know him. Hold his hand, talk to him, get to know him, get to know what he's thinking, get to know what he's feeling. And share these things with him, because he's worth it. If he were not for you, if he were not a good person, I would have said so. You know that, don't you?
Yes, I do.
I would have absolutely. Were you expecting me to say that?
No.
Were you expecting? Because he's lovely. So
Yeah.
could you please, please, please embrace the joy and embrace the love that is being given to you? And if, when he puts his arm around you again, you sort of walk away, oh boy, you're going to have my eyes piercing the back of your head,
I'll feel you watching.
and I'll be saying, what do you think you're doing?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm so pleased. You feel better?
I do. Yes.
Are you glad it's over?
Yes, but it it makes me feel like it's time. It's time to get out from behind that wall. It's
Boy,
just
oh boy,
time.
is it ever? Yes. Well, you know, just volunteering for this, you knew it was time. You were hoping. You were hoping.
Yes.
So just volunteering is like saying, I do need some help with this. I do need to be a little bit braver. And maybe Rosemary can help. Well, maybe, you know, Grey Eagle can help. So
Yeah.
so you knew that it was time. So now you've just got to set everything in motion, take what you've learned, think about it, obviously, and try to put it into some form of practice. We shall be coming back to you, who knows for how long down the road here, maybe a week or two or a month or two. And we'd love you to come back on and to talk to us about how, if, because it may not have made a difference. I'm hoping that it will make a difference to you. And what kind of difference did it make, and how are you dealing with it, and what's going on with you? And maybe you could share with people how this really has helped you to find joy in your life. And that's what I wish for you, my darling.
Okay. Thank you.
So, all right. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for the comments and the support that you've given to Cheryl. Cheryl, we will let you read all of those things. I don't quite know how Chris does it, but she'll
Okay.
let you read all of the comments and so on, and the support if we can from everybody. And thank you, everybody out there, because you've been so supportive and so wonderful. And we do hope, and I know that Cheryl is hoping, that sharing her story has inspired you all. And listening to how we deal with that bottom brick has inspired you, perhaps even to attempt to do it for your own selves. So once again, Cheryl, thank you so very much for joining us. I'd like to say thank you to Grey Eagle, always, of course, and Chris in the background there, who is busy sorting all of the back stuff going on. So thank you, Chris. And hopefully we shall see you again with another bottom brick at some point in the future. Until then, everybody, and Cheryl,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
please have a very, very blessed day. Did you want to say something, Cheryl, before we close?
I just wanted to say thank you, Rosemary. Thank you, Grey Eagle. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone.
You are very welcome. We so appreciate that you shared with us. So please, everybody out there, thank you for joining us. We will be back whenever it is. We'll be back in the morning. We shall be doing our the spirit world sees all, and they really do, don't they, Cheryl? You now know that they really do see all, right? We'll be doing that tomorrow morning, and story time on Saturday, and we'll be doing some off the cuff stuff as well. You never know when we're going to pop in. Thank you, my darling Cheryl. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Please, everybody out there, have a very, very blessed rest of the day, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.